when the divinely destined soulmates go from 2 to 3 by accident, when a rainy day that was meant for 2 alone, a third person unexpectedly intrudes. How will the story unfold? As mentioned in the last installment, Leo was brought back urgently by Ken because he fainted in the mountains. When Leo opens his eyes, he realizes that he is already in his room. Ken falls asleep on the side of his bed. Ken sees Leo awake and asks Leo worriedly, why did he suddenly faint? Was it because he was always supporting Leo that made him tired? Leo, who hadn't slowed down yet, didn't answer. The big brother from the camp comes into the room and tells Ken that they have Tai and Fat back at the camp. Ken jumps into his arms as soon as he sees his brother. Tai apologizes again, but turns his head and notices that something is very wrong with Leo, who has followed Ken here. He looked at himself with an incredibly complicated look in his eyes as well. Tai takes it upon himself to ask Leo what happened. Leo prevaricated a few times, but Fat, surrounded by his friends, also unconsciously frowns in the direction Leo is looking. Jenny comes to Tai, who is resting in his room, and asks Tai if she can talk to him. Tai takes Jenny into the room. Jenny talks to him. If she had known that Tai was Fat's soulmate, she wouldn't have done such a thing herself. Tai, however, understands what Jenny is doing. He adds that he has actually learned a lot. Jenny looks at her cute schoolmate Tai and sincerely blesses Tai and Fat. He also said that he could feel that they really liked each other. Finally, before leaving, she whispers something to Tai about Fat's intimate topics. It made Tai very shy. After Jenny's schoolmates talked this out, it did pass completely on Tai's side. On the other side, Fat announces to the crowd that he and Tai confessed successfully at Meiping Shen. The two are officially together. Everyone is happy for him, especially Gaia. Fat's pals, on the other hand, felt that it would not be a good look to tease the young couple, but they believed, with the change in the relationship of these two, there might be more topics for them to make fun of. Gaia then suggested a party. Thoe, with whom she was getting close, said straight away that the place could have a bonfire party at night. While everyone is cheering for the party, Ken notices that Leo is not looking well. Tai and Fat couldn't wait to be together 24 hours a day, since they had established their relationship. At the bonfire party, they refused to leave each other for a single minute. Ken, however, gets himself drunk soon after the party starts. Leo told him to slow down and not get drunk again. At that moment, Jenny also came to the party. Everyone unconsciously looked at Tai. A smiling Tai, however, explained that he had already talked to Jenny Senpai, so it was okay. Everyone's atmosphere was then revitalized. Ken, as the representative of really bad luck, in the game of truth or dare, he was the first to be picked by the bottle. Ken says there's nothing he can say and picks truth or dare. Gaia had the idea to ask Ken about his first love. Ken ended up dodging a round of flirting because he's never been in love. Ken spun the bottle and picked Leo. Leo picks truth or dare after seeing Ken say his dare was terrible. Gaia asks if Leo has a crush. Leo can't help but turn his gaze to Tai. He stares at Tai and says yes there is. Leo turns the bottle to Fat and asks him to choose truth or dare. Fat's desire to win came up and he said he would choose dare. Leo asked Fat to drink 2 bottles of wine at once and Fat agreed. After drinking the wine, Fat spun the bottle and chose Jenny. The atmosphere was instantly awkward again. Tai took Fat's hand and sat understandingly. Fat can't go and talk to Jenny Senpai again. Fat stroked Tai's head and got up to talk to Jenny alone to one side about things. Fat apologized to Jenny first for making Jenny sad about this earlier. He explains that he doesn't love Jenny as a lover anymore though, but the time they spent together remains Fat's most important memory. Jenny also expressed her understanding. The two embrace and reconcile, bringing the convoluted relationship to a complete end. And Tai, who is hiding and watching, feels relieved. Arya tells Jenny, even though she was no longer Fat's girlfriend, she herself still wanted to meet Jenny, because every time he or she talks to Jenny, he or she had a good time. Jenny also promised Arya to keep seeing her. Jenny later leans into Arya's arms and still can't stop crying. Tai and Fat come to the school to deliver something to Ken, accompanied by Gaia. Tai said he had to go to his big brother Eric's place later to pick up his cat Mimi. Fat was going to stop by and ask Gaia if she wanted a ride. Tai turns to Gaia with a smile and warns her not to disturb the two of them. Gaia knowingly says she can't go back alone. Ken comes to get his stuff and rambles on. Tai, not wanting to spoil him, has to drag him along to get something from the trunk. Leo subtly calls out to Fat and says he has something to tell him. Can they come back? And the two have finished their conversation and the atmosphere is not very good. Tai takes Fat to his elder brother Eric's house. Fat, on the other hand, thinks Eric is very different from Tai. He's a fair-looking man with sunglasses and an expressionless face watering the greenery. Fat asks Eric to be casual with him. Eric face palms and spits out that it won't work. After all, Fat is still 2 years Eric's senior. Tai goes inside to look for Mimi the cat, and Fat looks at the house next door with nostalgia. It turns out that next door is Fat's grandmother's house. He had always been close to his grandmother and used to come and stay at her house in those days. It wasn't until Grandma died that he left the place because he was too sad. Tai picks up his cat and asks Fat to come home with him. As he leaves, Tai makes a point of telling his brother Eric to get a good night's sleep. Eric, who is very friendly in front of Tai, next moment blackmails Fat in front of him. He says that if he dares to break his brother's heart, Fat he will definitely die. Fat and Tai exit the compound and are still exclaiming that Eric is really something. Tai notices that Fat is in a bad mood and asks him what's wrong. Fat tells Tai that the house next door is the home of his favorite grandmother. He once met a neighbor's brother, who was a crybaby because of his parents' divorce. He had met a neighbor brother, who was crying because of his parents' divorce, and had passed snacks and sticky notes to him through his grandmother. So he never saw that brother's face until his grandmother died, and he received a sticky note from that brother consoling him and telling him not to cry. His brother says he will always be there for him. Tai then realizes that he and Fat met so early on, before they exchanged names. After Tai decided that the older brother was his first love, they had made a connection for each other's marriage long ago in the underworld. Fat and Tai are still sighing in the car that they knew each other so early. Tai looks at Fat, who is driving, and tells him that he is happy that the kind big brother is Fat. Tai hesitates for a while and tells Fat that he wants to spend the night at his house tonight. Hearing this, an excited Fat slams on the brakes straight away. Fat reaches home and removes all sorts of jewelry from himself as he walks. Tai solemnly calls Fat and tells him tonight he just wants to stay with Fat and is ready himself. Fat tells Tai with ulterior motives. Now that Tai has said so, he won't suppress himself anymore. The two kiss so hard that they end up completely melting into one. Leo and Ken are together in the hostile editing group work. Leo, however, always stares at Tai's picture over and over again. Ken realizes that Leo has a fever, so he helps him to the sofa and feeds him water and medicine. Leo pulls Ken down and asks if he had to choose between his favorite person and his soulmate, which one would Ken choose? Ken subconsciously felt that he would prioritize his soulmate, but then he wondered what if he really liked the guy. So it was hard for him to answer Leo's question. The two lay side by side on the couch, their fingertips ambiguously entwined. Leo called Tai to confirm his feelings. It makes Tai fulfill the promise he made when he asked him to dinner. He also asked that the date could ideally be extended to a full day. Tai thought for a moment and agreed, but he couldn't help but think of Gaia telling him earlier that Leo liked him for that matter. Fat had been really into sticking to Tai ever since the relationship. He wants to take Tai back to his house every night. Tai says he really can't tonight. He has work to do. Fat wanted to book Tai for the weekend. Tai hesitated and said that he was not available for the weekend and that he had to conceptualize a new article topic. Fat could only instruct Tai not to just work and get some sleep. Leo tells Tai that he's going to confirm something later and takes a picture of Tai. James and Albin run into Tai and Leo together in the park. James takes a picture and sends it to Fat and asks him what is going on. Why would Tai come out alone on a date with Leo? Fat recalls that earlier at Ken's school, Leo told him that he was also Tai's soulmate. At that time, Fat had also warned Leo that Tai was already his boyfriend. He asks Leo to make sure it doesn't come to pester Tai. Fat tentatively calls Tai. Tai, however, says he is busy with work. Fat immediately goes to Tai's house to seek confirmation, but meets Ken, who is also waiting for Tai. Fat tells Ken that Leo is meeting Tai at the park. Tai tells Leo if there are things he hasn't thought through or needs to validate, then he'll take his time. Tai wanted to leave when it was about to rain, but Leo said he could give Tai a ride. Tai, who doesn't want to cause trouble for others, says he can't hear in the rain. Tai overhears that the keychain hanging on Leo's bag looks familiar. He tells Leo he used to have one of these keychains for his keys, but he lost it a couple years ago. Leo urgently asks Tai if he saved a student 2 years ago. Tai recalls when he was in a hurry to go out and chase his dad, who had left the house. He did incidentally save a high school student who wasn't looking where he was going and almost got hit by a car. Leo then realizes that it was Tai who saved him in the first place. Tai watches the rain get heavier and is afraid that Leo won't hear him. So he takes a sticky note out to him and writes that it's raining too much and he'd better go first. But Leo suddenly calls out to Tai. Tai didn't realize that he could hear Leo's voice on a rainy day. He turns to Leo in shock. Tai is unsure and asks Leo if it was him who just called out to him. Leo replies with certainty that it was him and adds that he is also Tai's soulmate. Leo finishes and kisses Tai. This scene is also seen by Ken and Fat, who rushed over to look for Tai. Tai tries to pull Fat back but is flung aside by an angry Fat. Leo is not shy to say that he is also Tai's soulmate. Fat heard this and punched him even harder. Tai looks at the chaos and breaks down and yells that I don't want this fate. The trio's sudden rainy day deafness is inexplicably cured by Tai's words, but the trio's connection is thus cut off. Fat is adamant and asks Tai whether he should choose himself or Leo. Tai feels that obviously his relationship with Fat is already so clear. Fat shouldn't have questioned both of them, but Fat says, I just want an attitude from you. Can't you be firm with me? Is this hard to do? Tai doesn't want to keep talking to an emotionally unstable Fat. Fat is even more devastated as he watches Tai keep avoiding his questions. He wonders if it's that hard just to get Tai to choose himself. Ken blames Leo and shouldn't have ruined Tai and Fat's relationship. Leo retorts that he was just trying to validate the whole soulmate thing. Ken tells Leo that his behavior is bad and will only break up Tai and Fat. He also said that he had thought that he and Leo were like-minded and liked each other, but it turned out not to be. Leo looks at Ken, who turns around and stops looking at him, and surprisingly he feels very lost. Tai hugs Mimi at home and says that he used to wish for a cure for deafness. Now that he was inexplicably better, he didn't feel very happy himself. Instead, he feels that his connection with Fat was silently broken. With the disappearance of the disease, Fat went to Tai drunk and made sure he explained everything that happened tonight. Why, after a shout from Tai, their deafness was not cured. It's as if their soulmate status goes with them. Fat just wants Tai to tell him clearly that Tai still loves him, but Tai is very passive and not very willing to communicate with Fat. He also said things like he might as well break up. Fat is both shocked and angry. He also said something like, why don't the two of them just break up then? Fat regretted it as soon as he said it, but Tai has started sorting out their relationship calmly. He has thanked Fat for taking care of him during this time. Despite the separation, he had a happy time. After saying this, he pushed Fat out of the door. Seeing that there was no way back, the two had their backs to the same door, but their hearts felt like they were separated by millions of miles. What can the two people who are separated by their hearts do to break the deadlock at this moment? Where will their relationship go from here? We'll see you in the next installment.